What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Think Forward, the podcast that helps you grow your business. Let's jump in. I'm your host, Jordan Shelton, sitting here with
Lauren Wesley.
Cool. We're both hosts, but we're in a new setup today. We've been out of the game for a little bit. It's been a while, a few months. So I think we should probably start with giving an update just on our businesses, how it's been the last 3-4 months, and go from there. Really, like, if you want to maybe jump in first and just let people know, like, how's your media presence doing, your consultancy, what are the updates?
Your media presence has been going through changes, definitely. I feel like clients come in waves. And I find that because of the recession or whatever's happening in the economy and, people, you kind of get rushes, and it coincides with those sorts of kind of macro meta events. I think right now what we're seeing is when clients, or for me, my clientele has shrunk a bit, but that's also the perfect time, I find, to kind of reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And reinvent the brand. And, right now, your media presence is in the process of kind of that reinvention phase. So dealing with a lot of that, really exciting though, because I think that means you get to kind of hone in a little deeper. Like every time you kind of zero in a little bit more on what you're looking for, what type of clients you like to work with, and be intentional about the next client that you do get.
Well, let's give people some context here, right? If they're just coming in first time seeing this, like, what is it? What do you do with your media presence? If they're like, okay, yeah, I agree, client, I want more, but what's the service that you offer?
So I do social media strategy and content creation, so for brands specifically. And I find that usually for a business like mine, where I have multiple clients and, different brands that I work with at the same time, I find that whenever there's some sort of a squeeze in the market or a squeeze in the industry, instead of a company filling out their entire team with multiple people, they will look to an agency or a smaller contractor type business, kind of like mine, where I can kind of fill in and take over the job, with myself and my team, take over the job of, a full team.
It's way less risk, right? From the business side of things, hiring a consultant. And this is why, if you're watching this and you are positioning yourself, you want to go out and do your own, consulting, freelance design, freelance copywriting. You want to build websites, you want to run social media, or maybe you want to build a service-based business, you want to HVAC, whatever. One of the things specifically when we look at, like, the more, like, what I would call marketing jobs, there's this weird counterbalance. When the economy does really well and it's easy to get money and everyone's investing in companies and they're raising hundreds of millions of dollars, what you see is super inflated marketing teams in our particular thing. And what that then means for us as the contractors, we end up getting pushed out because they're like, well, we have 10 people that can manage things.
And they don't always need 10 people, but that's a whole other conversation.
It's a whole other conversation about building the right structure. But it's this weird counterbalance now, as there's been massive layoffs, companies are cutting, they still need several functions to be taken care of. And there's a big push for people right now. They're betting on themselves. They're starting their own contracting business where they can come in and fill those roles. From the company side, way less risk from a financial perspective and a training perspective, because you can go out, get an expert, and you can do it at 2/3 of the cost of a W-2 employee. And if they're not performing, snip, snip, goodbye.
Yeah, you get the axe first.
Yeah. So I love this, and it's I think we should come back to this. I want to talk a little bit about kind of the power of month-to-month contracts and how, like, it's a good mutual contract between both parties when you're doing service business. But I'll give a quick update on Cave. So those of you who don't know, I run an agency called Cave, cavesocial.com. Been doing that for 12 years, many iterations. Built the team, went down to just me during COVID, built the team up again, went back down, using now a bunch of contractors, building out the team steadily as we go. The biggest update has been, one, seeing funding dry up, but also seeing several of our clients like literally go out of business.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we didn't get fundraising. Sorry, we're out of business like 2 weeks from now. And you're like, what? You raised $100 million, in 2021 or something.
Yeah.
So we're feeling the ramifications of some reckless spending, I think just a wild time in business funding, and that's kind of trickled down. But it's been good because it's caused a refocus. So now my company in particular, I have niched down again. I used to be a marketing agency. Then I went from marketing agency to social media marketing agency to now I'm social media marketing company for CPG and e-com companies. So that means any SaaS products, people who come to us, cool, I can probably connect you with the right agency, but I know now this is my, I really, really niche down. I might even niche down more to be like a certain type of CPG company. You've kind of done the same thing, right?
Yeah. So now I kind of in a very similar way went from, which is also, I feel like the first phase, which I kind of want to just touch on, like serving every type of client is the learning phase. That's where you kind of get to, dip your toe in a lot of different waters and figure out what types of industries you're interested in. It's also a great learning opportunity because you get to work with different types of companies in different industries. So you get to learn and really, when you're managing someone's marketing, you really kind of dig in and learn the ins and outs of their job, their industry. So yeah.
No, I think it's good. I think also it's just one of those things when you are starting any new business, you think, I need to service everybody. I need to be this big generalist. And you learn very quickly, the more seasoned you become as an entrepreneur, that people want to hire specialists.
Yeah.
They want to hire, I don't want an electrician to be my plumber.
Right.
I want my plumber to be my plumber and my electrician to be my electrician. Even though I'm sure they might know some stuff or whatever, right? But like,
yeah,
I that's the way I look at it. So we got to take that approach when we look at this.
And there's also that level of, sorry to interrupt, but like that level of expertise that comes with specialization, like just working in a home space or real estate, you really get to understand who the audiences are and you get to know how to speak to them in different ways depending on what specific niche your client is in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. So that, niching down, that's really been the update for us. I think the other thing now that I want to get into is an update, but it's really a frame of thinking. And this is what we'll call the wartime entrepreneur versus the peacetime entrepreneur. So I would argue that the last 10 years have been pretty peaceful. A lot of money, a lot of people getting funding. It's been pretty, if you're pretty decent, you're going to get a job. You're going to be able to make good money. Real estate's going crazy. If you're an age, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
and I also want to just, sorry to interrupt on this one too, but even though it was COVID, even though COVID happened, there were a lot of incentives. So just to talk about how funding was still easy to find during the pandemic, because that sounds crazy. But with all the assistance, companies were being paid to hire people. So that was that kind of like weird kind of wave of prosperity that kind of happened.
People are still cashing in with the ERC, getting $25,000 per employee that is paid back in tax credit.
Yeah.
So it was weird. But it was still, a wild time. Now, to kind of come back to that. So there's like wartime, this idea, it comes from Sam Horowitz in the book Hard Thing About Hard Things, I believe is the name. Hard Thing About Hard Conversations. I don't know. We'll put the link in the show notes. But he talks about wartime CEO and peacetime CEO. I think for the course of, this conversation, really looking at wartime entrepreneur versus peacetime entrepreneur. We are at war as entrepreneurs right now. There make no doubt about it. And what I mean by that is learning how to delegate, use your resources properly, thinking about moves, especially if you're sitting there and people are cutting budgets and they're cutting your department and they're cutting, okay, you got to get real tactical now. Maybe that ping pong table in the break room isn't what you need right now.
Yeah.
Not saying be cheap, but definitely taking calculated decisions, right? It's not happy-go-lucky time. And I've definitely felt this in my business. And now I'm kind of at a recentering, being like, all right, cool. I need to make my next move and make them with a little more strategy. So that has been something that has been kind of at the forefront now as I position my company to grow again. We're getting the wheels underneath us is to really take a tactical approach to every single thing that's done in the business, from creating content like this all the way through. So that's something that I think it's okay to acknowledge in your own business. Like, I'm at war, I'm at peace, and they need different things, right? If you're a peacetime CEO, peacetime entrepreneur, hey, I'll give you that discount. I'll give you that refund. Hey, I'll give you the bonus. Hey, I'll take my whole team out for bowling and beer, and I'll do all these things because times are good. We're doing well. And shit, when you're at war, it's keep the business alive is number one.
Yeah. And I think because as a entrepreneur, service-based, entrepreneur, business owner, something that I've learned as a like solopreneur for, running my own business, but then anyway, it's just that you need to, and it's a phrase that you hear in so many other contexts, but you need to stay ready. You need to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You need to stay kind of in war mode so that you don't have to turn it on later, because it's so easy when things are going well, when clients are coming in, when money's coming in the door. Yeah.
Right. And I think part of war mode that people might mistake, war means going on offense and playing defense.
Yes.
Not just playing defense. I think a lot of times people, when it turns into economy squeezes, I got to lay people off. I had to lay people off last year. It was not fun. Now I've got to go, but also realize just sucking like into a little ball and curling in the corner, that's not going to help me either. So understanding where I'm going to attack, where I'm going to counterpunch, like all of those things in business, at least from the service provider side of things, are super, super important, because we don't want to be wasting our attacks and our efforts in places that aren't going to yield any results.
And I think that idea of being on offense, kind of having that strategy in mind for what will your next phase look like. And just to kind of clarify, it's like, okay, you go through these waves. There's waves in everything. And I mean, as a business owner, you feel it firsthand more than you would maybe unless you're getting laid off from a company. You don't really notice when there are ebbs and flows. And that's kind of the benefit of having such a large pool of money. But it's like, if you aren't being mindful of how to optimize your team, your resources, and how to sell or find new clients, and you're not doing those offensive, or sorry, is that the right way of saying that? Those offense type activities, if those aren't part of your everyday as a business owner, that's a problem. Because then when the well does dry up, you're left either looking for a job, when you're freaking out because you're not sure where the next month of cash is you're not sure where that's coming from. It's so easy to withdraw and almost kind of put up the white flag and just kind of give up. But then you just have to snap back into, this is all speaking of experience, because this happens every single time. I go into this moment where, as embarrassing enough as it is to say, I go into this like almost like retreat, right? Where I want to start looking for jobs or start trying to find ways that are not in line with what the passion is, with what the goals are, my real goals, my lifestyle goals, my relationship goals. Like, I start to kind of revert and find something that seems safe. But in reality, the safest bet is on yourself, as we always say. And it's like, okay, you have to really put your knowledge to use and really try to plan ahead, which I feel like is something you've really been talking about lately.
Yeah, getting to plan ahead and keeping pipeline coming, right? So this is when you're working and you're getting referrals and that's all coming. That's gravy, that's cool. But you need to have self-generated leads, not just referrals. And however you do that, there's a million ways. You can check out our course that's in the link below if you want to go and look at how we do that. But really looking at what is the path I want to chart as I lose a client here or there. Okay, understanding that, say you lose 60% of your revenue. I've had this happen before. At least it wasn't 100%.
Oh yeah.
Where if I were to go get a job, I'm freaking out. I'm looking at, I could go make, X here working for whatever, Google or something, or I'm going to go apply at some startup. But then I realized, that doesn't actually align with my value set and what I want. Mm-hmm. Where it becomes, and where I think this frustration is truly born out of, for anyone who's feeling like I should just go get a job instead of working on my business, it's because you have a job. I'm going to say this right now. Your business is probably not a business. It's a job masquerading as a business.
I feel like you need to say that one more time.
That's what I mean. Like, your business is not a business. It's a job masquerading as a business. What I mean by that, if you are doing all of the work, if you are getting a client, servicing the client, doing the accounting, doing all these things, you're self-employed, which is okay. There are a ton of people who are self-employed. I've been there 100% of my time. Now you look at that and you go, oh, is that a business? Sure, I invoice people, I get money. It's exchange for services, but if I'm doing them all the time, I've really just created a job for myself. Now what I'm trying to do is look at if I look at 100% of my time, how can I segment out, to make sure that 60% of my time or 70%, hopefully one day 100, is working on building and designing the machine, not operating it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And it's this little like switch that went off in my head a couple months ago where I realized that I was doing a lot of the client work. So when my head is down doing work, I can't see up and see what's coming. I can't see the punches. I can't dodge them. Right? And I mean that in a way where having the wherewithal and ability to just be like, okay, I need to like release some of that and hand it off. Now,
and also understanding too that that's the way that you grow. That's the way that you can protect yourself if there is another squeeze. I mean, this is something that I feel like is so hard to really admit, but when you have a business and you've expanded to the point where you're able to bring in new resources, a lot of times, you know, depending on the size of your business, that's not hiring someone, that's hiring or getting project-based or like contractors to help support and like supplement, almost like fortifying your efforts, like giving you a boost, like a, you know, to help make sure that things get done. So what's kind of wonderful about that is that if there is a squeeze, you can kind of tighten things up, which means less work for the contractors, less money going out. You can kind of have a little more flexibility in that space without losing everything.
Yeah.
So it's wise to really kind of grow and scale to a point that's, you know, efficient from a financial standpoint, but also efficient from an operations standpoint, so that, I don't know, you can kind of, I don't know, it's like
just
wise
predictable
to scale.
margin. So here's what I think what we're trying to say, at least what I've found is this. If I have a project that comes in, I'm going to have contractors that are tied to revenue, meaning anything they do is going to be tied to projects, so that I'm not paying for
idle time.
Previously, when I've had staff, we lose a client, I still have to pay that staff's time whether or not they're working on a contract or not. Mm-hmm. So now they're just, that person is losing money for the business. I'm trying to replace the revenue. Mm-hmm. Instead, if I have contractors tied to a project, hey, that project's done, that contractor's now done. Mm-hmm. Now there's benefits to both these things and negatives, but at least there I can focus on profitability, right? Coming back to this like masquerading as a business thing and how to escape it, I have it here. Oh, yes. What it is restructuring how you're thinking. This guy, Michael, I'm going to butcher his name, Malkowitz or something. The book's called Clockwork. Go check it out. But he talks about this idea, which I really love, is entrepreneur, this word today, and I'm still going to use it, but is reshaping what it means. Because in commonplace, people have been like, I'm an entrepreneur, aka I work 20 hours a day, I do all the things, I'm late nights and early mornings, I'm grinding, all these things. Okay, sure. Maybe that's like 50% of your time. But the other 50% of your time, take the mindset of a shareholder. Mm-hmm. What do big shareholders do in companies? They work on the systems, they work on appointing the right people. They're not in there, you know, putting the doors on the cars if they own the car company. So it's taking that mindset and understanding where can I be the shareholder and be someone who designs the system, is not within it, working in it. So that's been really helpful for me to just be like, okay, I need to like look at my time allotment throughout the week. Let's say it's 100 based on 100 points, 100%, and go, okay, can I spend 20% of the time working on design and designing the system, and 80%, whatever, running the business. Okay, now how do I get it? And instead of me thinking, how do I get it to, 100% design time and working whatever, it's how do I get it from 80 or from 20% to 25%, from 25 to 30 as I start to look at my week. So that's been like super helpful.
And I've found too that if I'm doing everything, or if I'm trying to run the entire business myself, something's gonna fall. Like one of these plates is gonna fall. Exactly. Like it's, if I can do something, or I guess all that to say, it's wise to offset tasks that are not your specialty as well.
Well, I want to, that's actually the next topic I want to get into, which is, okay, value add versus value negative tasks. And people say this all the time. They go, do what you're good at and like contract what you're bad at, right? But then they never address two other parts that I think kind of have to be put on top of that conversation. One is what we'll call value neutral tasks. These are tasks that in your business where like you could do them, but somebody else is probably better, right? Like I had to make a rule for myself. I had to uninstall Photoshop, for instance. I could do it, but I am in no position. I'm not the best Photoshop person, right? So one, value neutral task. Then two, the other side of things is high leverage and low leverage activities. So outlining what's the highest leverage activity, best use of your time, that cross sections with what you're actually good at, right? Because you're probably better, even if you don't have the skills, to work on a high leverage activity,
right?
Even if you're shit at it. That's going to move the business forward more. Going and selling doing sales, even if you suck at it, it's probably going to move the business farther than like, well, I'm really good at designing flyers and I'm going to like go and design flyers.
Yeah.
So looking at a leverage line, where is it? Low leverage to high leverage, and value negative up to value add, and kind of charting that out and chart your job responsibilities out and be like, oh, I need to spend my time in the high value add, high leverage activities, right? And those are easy. It's easier to say that than it is to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely parts of business that they have so much inertia to doing those activities, but those are the activities that make a difference. It's easy to get into design mode and start making flyers and like, you know, trying to move the pixel this way or that way a couple, you know, or move the, you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, getting fixated on things that really don't matter.
Yeah.
We've talked about this
it's
before.
almost like busy work. Like it's just kind of like giving yourself some weird satisfaction. Like it's like an endorphin.
It's cleaning. We do say this all the time, but it's cleaning the dishes when your taxes are due. There is a bigger activity you need to be doing, which is your taxes, but you're like, I'm going to clean the kitchen. Like, if you felt that before, where you start cleaning up shit when you got other things that are way more important to do. That's what it's like. So looking at that in your business too, to be like, am I doing the dishes here or am I doing something? Because it's so easy to get pulled into like honestly working on low leverage nonsense in your company, and it could be something as simple as, oh, you're an HVAC, provider, and you're freaking out about, your logo. Nobody cares about your logo. They care about your Yelp reviews. They care about your Google reviews. Is your website easy to contact? Those are things I would care about, right? Do you have a system? Do you get people out there if their house is flooded, how quickly are you at their house? Like, can you make that system better? Can you get more trucks out? Like, there's just better questions to be asking yourself. Yeah. Ultimately.
Yeah. And I think just kind of along those lines, the high value tasks, I find that there's kind of constantly this ongoing refinement of systems and operations. So it's like every time there's a new client, I'm refining my process of how I bring the client in, how, at what point should I have all of their information, how, like kind of these check-in points that you can begin to make a bit more automatic and systematic, so that you can have those efficiencies. It's almost that like additional level of offense where you can prepare to have a new influx of clients, like kind of refining each of your
you want repeatable process, right?
Yeah.
Look, I go to McDonald's, I order a hamburger anywhere in the United States or Canada. It's the exact same process, right? Yeah. They're not selling me tech or whatever. No, they're selling me a hamburger where they've built a repeatable process. Your business can have the same thing. The best way I found in this is like, I have to document as I'm going through, and if there's a new client, a new problem, document what I'm doing, because I can take those SOPs, and if I create those, that's going to allow for somebody else that I hire to step in and do that next time. But if I keep all the knowledge to myself, because I'm thinking like, oh, nobody else can do it as good as me, like, yeah, right. Yeah. That's how you end up doing the same shit you're doing 10 years ago today. The same stuff, right? And I have certain parts of the business where I'm still working on that. I'm still doing so I'm like learning to let go and learning to not only let go, but document what you are letting go.
Yep. It's so interesting. And I feel like when you hold it all in your head, when one person has all of those keys, all of that information just locked away in your head, it's not helping anyone. I remember I did this map, this like process map for a client, just so that they could really understand what went into the social process, which actually might be interesting to share something like that. Maybe I'll figure out a way to share it with everyone. But I went step by step by step and showed the flow of information from one team member to the next, to the next, to the next, and how it flowed until all of the posts were finally posted. And the client their head kind of exploded because they had no idea everything, every single detail and step that went into the process of getting us one social media post up on one platform. And it was honestly really helpful because I think it helped me because it allowed my team to see each of their steps and roles very clearly and, to see their process very clearly. But then it also helped the client to understand the value that we're adding at every step of the way to make their, social media the best it could be.
Well, I think also one of the huge parts of that is just letting people in on the process, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And letting them, they'd be like, oh, don't see how the sausage is made. It's like, no, sometimes letting people know, hey, here's the process we're following. It's not just, I just don't come in and like click a few buttons and then your problems are all solved, right? So giving people at least visibility to that.
Yes.
They don't really care at
the
end of the day, but they want to know via some sense of fairness that you are putting a lot of work in, especially if you're getting paid a decent clip. So I think that's super important to just go through and look at this all, right? So yeah, I mean, that's it. We're back for I think that's a busy episode. I think we're probably good to wrap it up. What do you got? Anything to add?
Not at the moment. I was just thinking, we're back.
We're back. We're going to be doing this a lot more. This is put on by highclass.co, HYCLASS.co. Get over there. We got some free resources there. If you want to find your niche, we have a field guide there to help you find your niche. We also have our course, which is the 6-figure service business course. You can go grab that for about $150. We'll also put a link to that below, where you can go grab that, see what's up. And also, if you want to ping us, leave a comment, whatever, we would love to chat with you. Until next time, I'm Jordan Shelton.
And I'm Lauren Wesley.
Adios.